Or what if they said, you just gross me out. Bye. Hey everybody, I'm Amber, a disabled gal, here to reveal or remind you that you're complete in Jesus Christ alone. A podcaster that I enjoy listening to, named Allie Beth Stuckey, recently made some Valentine's Day advice, hence my Valentine's Day theme outfit. She had her husband on as a guest. I'm going to read to you a post that she made, but basically summarized what they said in the podcast. It says, "This is apparently somewhat controversial to say among Christians, but you should love, like, and be attracted to the person you're going to marry. Sure, marriages built upon obligation can work, but romance is a God-given gift. You shouldn't settle for the person who looks good on paper, but you don't enjoy being around. You should make each other laugh. You should be eager to spend time with each other. You should be able to picture growing old together. Yes, he, she should be godly, hardworking, etc., but you don't have to marry someone who grosses you out just because they're a Christian." Before I get into my thoughts on this, I want to make it crystal clear that I'm not trying to call her out in any way or say that she's somehow sinning. What she stated is an opinion, and I simply want to give my opinion as well. Sometimes I think second perspectives are helpful. So first I'm going to read a comment that I made under this post. The very first sentence might sound a little ableist, but I'll explain that after I'm done reading it. I said, maybe it's just my perspective because I had less options due to my disability. I had a list of non-negotiables. I can't imagine a man being interested in me, meeting everything on my list, and me still not being attracted to him. Kinda blows my mind. If you don't like being around the person, maybe your list of non-negotiables isn't long enough. My husband was the first guy who met all of my non-negotiables and who was interested in me. There were guys interested in me who didn't meet my non-negotiables. There were guys who did meet my non-negotiables who weren't interested in me. So that was my comment, but of course I'm going to get more detail since I'm making a whole video on it. First, let me circle back to that first sentence that says, maybe it's just my perspective, but I had less options due to my disability. Most people would probably say that they want to get in a relationship because they have so much to give to the other person. However, humans are inherently sinful and selfish, so even if we say that, often we really want to get more than we give out of a relationship. And many people, when they see a person with a disability, they automatically perceive them as, well, they're not going to be able to give me a lot, so I'm not going to be interested in them. I'm not saying that that mindset is accurate all the time. In fact, I think most of the time it's not accurate, although I may be a little biased, but that's just the way it is. So that's why I put that sentence. I don't think my disability in and of itself is what made me have less options. It's just others' perception of my disability made me have less options. Moving on from that, I talk a lot in this comment about my list of non-negotiables. I'm not going to go through that whole list in this video because it's long and, to be honest, it's a little bit too personal for me to just put out there on the internet for anyone to see. The purpose of that list is so that I would be as intentional as possible in my dating. It was meant to protect not only potential guys, but also protect and guard my own heart. I didn't want to needlessly show interest in a guy who it was clear that I wouldn't marry. That's not to say that having a list like I did is foolproof, and to say the first guy that meets your non-negotiables and who's interested in you, you're gonna marry. That just happened to be how it worked out for me, which I'm thankful for. Now, going back to Allie's advice, I understand that there was more to it than just physical attraction, but when I read it, I don't know about you, but the undertone does seem to be mostly based on physical attraction, which obviously in marriage, yes, that is very important. I'm not going to deny that. But when we think about physical attraction, you can find a reason to not be attracted to literally anyone. It's also not uncommon that couples are very attracted to each other in the beginning or maybe even the first few years of marriage, and they suddenly just aren't anymore. You may have heard the phrase, "Oh, I fell out of love." That's often used when there's not really a serious thing going on. It's just, they don't really feel it anymore. Now, I am not claiming to be a psychological expert or anything like that, but just from my observation and just life experience, it seems to me attraction very much is a choice that you make. When you choose to love your spouse, you're choosing to be sexually attracted to them. And when you forsake all others, you're choosing to not be sexually attracted to those other people that are outside of your marriage. I've made a video about attraction in the past. I just think it's something that people often associate with like this zap
lightning in a bottle
type of feeling, and almost like it's outside of your control. Like it's either just there or it's not there. I'm not really sure where that comes from, but that has not been my experience at all. Another thing to consider is the audience. Our modern society, even within the church, I think we have a tendency to compromise more on morals than we do on the attraction side. I know in my life, I've personally seen more couples compromise on the moral issues. And again, Allie did point out that you have to have both. You need to be on the same page morally, and you need to be attracted to each other. This point that I'm making right here could just be a difference of the environment we were raised in. I know she was raised in Texas. I was raised in the Midwest. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. I just personally haven't really seen a lot of people getting married even though they weren't attracted to each other. In fact, I'll be honest, I can't think of a single couple that I know of that has done that. I saw some other comments on her post, and basically they were saying, well, this is why I got divorced. I got married to someone that looked good on paper, but I just wasn't really attracted to them, so we got divorced. I don't say this at all to minimize that situation, but that's not a biblical reason to get divorced. If you find yourself not desiring your spouse, there's an underlying issue that needs to be addressed. If you made it this far in the video, you may have been waiting for me to talk about how this relates to disability. So, disabled people, again, are often perceived as gross, icky, definitely not sexually attractive. Like I mentioned, others' perception of us is why our options are so limited. And when you have godly moral standards like I did, your options become even more limited. I wanted to touch on this aspect because this is so personal for disabled people. A person with my diagnosis who is single could very well read this and feel very defeated and feel like, well, I guess I just am going to always gross people out, so I don't really have hope of a relationship. Or able bodied people or non disabled, whichever term you prefer, might read this post, and then when they see a disabled person, they might remember said post. You're like, actually, I'm kind of grossed out by that person, so no thank you. And it may not even be consciously as many words as I just said, but it could be subconscious. And you may say, well, that's their fault for taking the post so personal. Obviously, Allie wasn't speaking directly into that situation. I understand that, but people are naturally going to take things personal. And with this, it's honestly really difficult to not take it personally. When you are the target demographic that people get grossed out by, especially sexually, as in this context, like I said, it's really hard to not take it personal. It was even difficult for me not to take it personally. And I'm married, and I know that my husband desires me. I have some final thoughts that I wasn't really sure where to fit into the video, so I'm just going to put them here. Consider these bonus thoughts. People these days are already waiting what feels like millions of years to get married. One concern I have with this advice is it could encourage people to continue to delay getting married. And for those of us that have the desire to get married, the Bible says that we shouldn't be just needlessly delaying marriage. Now, of course, I'm not talking about the people that genuinely have just not found their person, but I am talking to the people who maybe broke up with somebody who met all of their non negotiables, but, well, they're a little too gassy, so they kind of gross me out. Or, well, they have this mole on their shoulder. It's just yuck. I don't like being around them, so goodbye. This also could cause unnecessary hurt and heartbreak for both parties. And if you're breaking up with someone over something as trivial as, I know those examples sounded silly, but people could take this to the extreme. How hurtful would that be to be told, well, I'm breaking up with you for this super, super, super trivial matter? Or what if they said, you just gross me out. Bye. It just doesn't really seem like a way to treat fellow image bearers of God. And if people are in the habit of breaking up for super trivial reasons, they could bring that habit into marriage and get divorced for unbiblical reasons. Now, of course, when you're dating, a breakup does not need to have as serious of a reason as biblically justified divorce does. I'm simply saying that when you're in the habit of leaving someone over very, very trivial things, it could make you be in the habit of piecing out as soon as life gets a little bit hard. Or say, well, I'm just not attracted to them anymore, or who knows what. People come up with any excuse these days. Now, again, I have no problem with Allie sharing her opinion here. It's just her opinion happened to spark a lot of thoughts in me, so I thought I would share those thoughts with you. I really felt led to do that. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video was edifying to you. If you enjoyed it, please check out my other content that will appear shortly on your screen here. And a huge thank you to my supporters. You guys really bless this channel tremendously, and God bless you all.
The video you just saw was made by fallible Christians.
Although we diligently seek to represent the God of the Bible accurately, please understand that we are still being sanctified.
For absolute truth, please refer to the Bible.